The argument of female sexual objectification is one we are all familiar with. It's been a criticism which women have found in gaming, movies, comics and just about every visual medium possible. In spite of the amount of rebuttals or explanations behind these so-called sexually objectified women, it seems like women en masse just can't seem to get over this particular subject. It's a very curious situation, and I personally always wondered why these adult women, whom are all well educated and informed, were so unnerved and offended by the visual depiction of fictional characters. Is it that women just never learned the difference between make-believe and reality, or is it perhaps some inherent insecurity when viewing attractive women in such close proximity? I suppose the question will never have a truly definitive answer, but I'd like to propose a possible explanation. Before I begin my theory, I would just like to reiterate my position on the issue of sexual objectification. I believe that sexual objectification has more to do with idealization, and that men and women are both subjected to this idealization. I believe the manner in which this idealization takes form is quite different between the genders, but regardless it's an aspect of most media which affects men and women equally. In my view, anyone who denies that men are not as subjected as much as women, or that it isn't as bad, are speaking from a personal bias and prejudice which is no excuse or justification. With that being said, let's proceed to my theory on why women take such exception to their depiction across various mediums. In February of this year, an article titled, "She Has No Head. No, It's Not Equal," written by Kelly Thompson on the popular comic book site Comic Book Resources, was posted. The article, which reads like the essential amalgamation of every argument about sexual objectification against women ever made, details the various ways in which women are sexually objectified by a criteria of 4 categories. These categories include body type, clothing, beauty and posing, and how they differ between male and female characters. I encourage you to read over the article yourself in the link below, but as you would expect, it amounts to nothing more than a bitch fist of complaining and bitching. Initially, my intention with this video was to comb over every point made in that article and refute it, but I instead decided to delve deeper into the motive of this woman's complaints and what fuels her, and so many other women like her, to complain so much about the physical appearance of fictional female characters. I also wanted to know why it is that only women seem to take issue with their portrayal in fictional media, and why men don't give 2 shits about how they are depicted. The answer came in the form of 2 articles, which supports a theory I'm sure most of us have already concluded quite some time ago. The theory basically states that the true reason and motive behind these women's hostility to sexually depicted women could stem from a strong sense of jealousy due to these women's own insecurities. Perhaps these women hate these sexually depicted women because these women represent a level of sexual and physical appeal these women can never achieve, and as such they project their insecurities outwardly so that anybody within earshot will do whatever is humanly possible to reassure them, and their overly fragile egos. Until now I didn't really have any tangible evidence or examples to support this assertion, but luckily I came across an article from Mail Online and the Huffington Post, which provides some very interesting findings on the subject of female-peer interaction. In the first article from Mail Online, psychologist Tracy Villancourt, from the University of Ottawa, and Dr. Ankul Sharma of McMaster University in Canada, both conducted studies with the intention of discovering just how hostile a woman will become when confronted by an attractive member of her own sex. First, Dr. Sharma assembled a group of women in a room. Half were friends, half strangers. They knew they were there to take part in a scientific study, but not what it entailed. All were being secretly filmed. As they waited, an attractive blonde woman dressed in a short skirt, a cleavage-flashing top, and knee-length boots came in and asked the group what study they were there to take part in. Later, she sent the same woman into the group, but this time she was unrecognizable as her hair was scraped back and she was wearing khaki trousers, flat shoes and a high-neck t-shirt. The different reactions the woman received were staggering. When dressed sexually, she was greeted with eye-rolling and head-shaking as the women in the room traded sneers. And it wasn't just the friends who exchanged tuts. Strangers also ganged up on her. After the sexy woman left, some of them burst out laughing and made comments. One even suggested it was obviously her intention to sleep with the professor. Yet, when the same woman entered the room plainly dressed, her appearance drew no reaction. In a second experiment, Dr. Vilancourt showed a group of women 3 photos of a slim, pretty woman. In the first she was sexually dressed, in the second she was provocatively attired but her image had been digitally altered to a size 16. In the final snap, she was dressed in a conservative way. The women were asked which girl they were more likely to be friends with and which they would introduce to their other half, and unsurprisingly, all the women opted for the conservative average-looking woman. In the second article, from the Huffington Post, a survey by the Workplace Bullying Institute found that women bully other women approximately 70% in cases involving female bullying, meaning 3 out of 4 times, women select their female co-workers as their victims. If these 2 article findings hold true, the implications and revelations are quite telling. This would mean that women hate women who are sexually attractive just for the very virtue that they are sexually attractive, and go out of their way to purposefully bully, condemn and approach these type of women with as much as hostility as they can, with or without any involvement from men. Applying these conclusions to the topic of sexual objectification in gaming, comics and so forth, it could very well mean that these women who complain so much about sexualized women, are in reality simply doing it for no other reason than their own insecurity and jealousy of the beauty and desirability they don't have, but that these women have regardless if they are fictional or real. This could also explain why the women who are generally regarded as positive examples or progressive role models for women tend to be of the Helen Ripley variety. I've heard it said time and time again that the right direction for women in gaming are women like Chell from Portal 2 or Samus Aran, but only in her suit of course. In other words, the only women which are considered good examples as progress, and which make women en masse feel comfortable, are the women whose sexual appeal is so muted to the point that they appear androgynous, even indistinguishable from their male counterparts. Basically the women who are as unattractive as possible, exactly like that conservatively dressed average-looking woman that all the women in the first study preferred to have as a friend and whom they would feel perfectly comfortable in introducing to their boyfriends. I realize more data on this subject needs to be collected before a definitive conclusion can be reached, but so far, I'm confident in what these findings show, and I think as more research is conducted on the subject, the more studies will further confirm this theory of female insecurity and hostile projection. However, if I happen to be completely wrong about this entire situation, then will someone please enlighten me as to why full-grown women, who understand the difference between reality and fantasy, pull such fits over fictional ass and tits? What is it about sexually attractive women that is so repelling to these women, Why the unprovoked hostility and anger? Why can they not look past a woman's physical being, like men do all the time with other men? How many times do men see a muscle-bound Adonis, fighting shirtless or in very form-fitting attire, and think nothing of it, yet when a woman catches a glimpse of cleavage or a fleshy outfit, we get essays and Kickstarter projects upwards beyond $100,000, all from insecure girls who felt threatened by some digitized or illustrated piece of ass that made them reconsider the worth of their accounts. If insecurity and jealousy has nothing to do with it, then I'd also like to know exactly what constitutes a progressive and positive portrayal of women, and mind you, if your description happens to include physical features which has a woman looking like a prepubescent boy or butch-dyke lesbian, then please, I'd rather you not bother to waste my or anyone else's time justifying your overly sensitive ego. If sexually attractive women are truly that repelling to a woman's senses, my only recommendations to her is to get over it, and learn to deal with the fact that she will not always be the prettiest girl in the room with all the attention. Anyways, I doubt anything I say here will make much difference, since it seems like female insecurity is having quite a showing with various communities these days, regardless if it's atheism, gaming or comics. It looks like we will all be paying the price because of some women who overestimated the importance of the hole between their legs. Either way, I'm resisting this self-indulgent invasion of idiocy every step of the way, and even though I think this is a problem that will never truly go away since I believe it's inherent to female psychology on some level, I will still stand my ground. Thanks for watching.